I should have handed them over that night. Those two starving children clutching the evidence men were willing to kill for. But I didn't. And that choice doomed the whole town before dawn. Caleb Hale saw them first in the snowstorm. The widow kneeling over scraps no dog would eat. The boy hiding a torn piece of paper that could bury the mining company. And the girl whose fevered breath would drag him back into a war he'd sworn never to fight again. The moment he lifted them onto his wagon, every door in town slammed against him. Contracts cut, guns loaded, torches stirred awake. He didn't know yet that the riders following him through the blizzard weren't there for the widow. They were there for him. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe, stay until the very end, and comment your city below. I want to see how far this story travels. Snow piled against the back alley of Murphy's saloon, drifting high enough to swallow a child whole. The wind cut through the boards like a saw, slicing whatever warmth remained. Two little hands tried to shield a smaller body from it, but the cold kept crawling in. Danny cracked the biscuit in half. Hard, gray, barely food. He pushed the bigger half into Emma's palm. She pushed it back. Neither ate. Their mother knelt between them, skirts frozen stiff around her legs. Eleanor Hayes held her breath so her ribs wouldn't shake. One shake and her children would know she was afraid. One shake and the last thread holding them together might snap. The wind howled and the door behind them shuddered. Then it burst inward. Caleb stepped through the blown frame with snow dusting his shoulders, boots heavy with ice, breath smoking white. He had come for supplies. He found something else, something God wasn't going to let him ignore. The broken plate on the floor, the trembling fingers, the mother's eyes, haunted, refusing to plead. Eleanor lunged up instantly, arms spread wide. "Stay back, sir." Her voice cracked like thin glass. Caleb didn't answer. His eyes shifted past her to Danny's small fist curled around a rust-worn key. The boy hid it deeper in his coat, a secret too heavy for 7 years old. Bootsteps scraped over the snowpack behind him. Murphy swaggered out of the saloon's storage room, wiping grease on his apron. "Told you, widow," he spat. "No scraps unless you work. Your man died owing me 300. Eleanor flinched. Just once. Then she locked her jaw. Caleb asked one thing. "How much?" Murphy blinked. "I just said, 'How much?'" Caleb repeated, voice flat as cold steel. 300, not a cent less." Caleb pulled a roll of bills from his coat, dropped them onto the frozen ground between them, the wind scattering edges like wounded birds. "Count it," he said. Murphy counted, slowly, out loud, in front of 3 men who had followed the noise and now stood watching. Witnesses, whether they wanted to be or not. Eleanor jerked, forward. "Don't do this." Caleb caught her wrist, gently but firm. "It isn't for you, ma'am. It's for them." She froze. Her children pressed into her skirts. Emma coughed once, a wet, rattling sound that made the wind seem quiet. Caleb stepped back, tightening his gloves. "Pack your things," he said. "We're going home." The words struck like an axe splitting a rotten log. Eleanor shook her head so hard her braids slapped her cheek. "We're not going anywhere with you. We don't know you, sir. You know that staying here will kill them." Her breath stilled, just for a second. I knew that too. The thought dropped inside her chest like a stone she'd been carrying for months. Murphy snorted. "Man's a fool. She'll bleed you dry before Christmas morning." Caleb didn't look back. He didn't argue. He didn't waste breath on cowards who profited from hunger. He knelt instead, eye level with Danny. "Son," he said quietly, "can you walk?" Danny nodded, though his lips were blue. He looked to Emma. She didn't nod. She just leaned into her mother because she didn't have the strength. Caleb scooped her up. She weighed less than she should. Her breath rattled against his collarbone. Eleanor reached instinctively, fear, hope, terror tangled in one trembling hand. But she stopped herself before touching him. Touch meant trust. Trust had cost her everything before. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered. Caleb met her eyes, steady. "Because nobody did it when they should have." He rose with Emma cradled in his arms. "Get your things." Eleanor stared at him, at her children, at the snow gathering on their shoulders. She had no warm coat, no real home to return to, no mercy left in this town. But she had 2 children who would not survive another night in this alley. She gathered the biscuit crumbs into her pocket. Habit, not hope, and lifted Danny to his feet. His hand slipped into hers, frozen stiff, tiny, terrified. Caleb turned toward the street, Emma's cough rattling against the wind. The snow thickened like God was warning them to hurry. Christmas lights flickered from the saloon window, mocking the silence around them. Eleanor stepped forward, not because she trusted him, not because she believed the world would finally show mercy, but because her daughter's breath was fading, and there was no other choice left. Caleb looked over his shoulder as she approached. He only said one word. "Good." The alley swallowed the wind behind them as the 4 of them walked out. One man carrying a child, one mother carrying 2 worlds of fear, and one boy gripping a rusted key that would change everything before the snow melted. And none of them knew the worst of the night hadn't come yet. Snow hammered the street as they crossed it, each step sinking past the ankles. Lanterns flickered above the storefronts, halos in the storm. No one bothered to help. Folks watched from behind windows the way people watched a stray dog limping past. Pity at a distance, judgment up close. Caleb carried Emma higher against his chest. Her breath rasped, soft, then softer. Eleanor saw it. I saw it too. The fear slipped under her ribs like a blade. Danny clung to her coat, the small key hidden in his fist tapping against her arm as they walked. Each tap felt like a warning. "Your place far, mister?" Eleanor asked, breath breaking. "Far enough," Caleb said. "But we'll make it." "Why would you risk it?" Her voice held no accusation, only exhaustion. "Storm's not waiting for permission." He didn't slow for the wind. didn't look back at Murphy's door or the men watching from the porch rail. They reached the abandoned stable where she'd been sleeping off and on. Eleanor slipped inside, lighting a stub of a candle. The flame shook like it feared the wind, too. 20 minutes, Caleb said. No more. Eleanor stared at him, not angry, just stunned at the idea she had anything left worth packing. She knelt beside a feed sack in the corner, pulling out all she owned: a thin blanket, a cracked tin cup, 2 shirts, both patched at the elbows, and the blue cloth, Michael's cloth, the only piece left of a life that died with him. She wrapped Emma's hands in it earlier. Now it smelled like cold sweat and damp hay. "You worked here?" Caleb asked. "Wasn't work," she murmured. "Was survival." She folded the blanket. Her fingers trembled, not from cold, from the heaviness of leaving a place that had already abandoned them. Danny crouched near her, still clutching the key. "Mama, should we take Papa's letters?" Eleanor's breath caught. The letters were tucked in the rafters, hidden from the owner, hidden from the world. She reached up and pulled them down. 3 envelopes, corners bent, ink faded. "Yes," she whispered. "We take what remembers him." Caleb waited by the door, eyes scanning the street like he expected trouble. Maybe he'd lived long enough to know trouble didn't need an invitation. Wind pushed the stable door inward, almost knocking the candle out. "Time's up," he said. Eleanor slung the sack over her shoulder. Too light. A whole life shouldn't be this light. She lifted Emma from the straw pile. Emma's eyes fluttered. "Mama, warm?" "Soon," Eleanor whispered. "Soon, baby. If God is listening, let soon be real." They stepped out again, the storm clawing at their coats. Caleb tightened his hold on Emma, shielding her from the wind. Danny pressed close to Eleanor, but kept looking over his shoulder, as if someone might step out of the blizzard. Someone had. Murphy leaned against the porch post of his saloon, cigar ember glowing weakly through the snow. The wind licked the smoke away before it could rise. "She ain't worth the trouble, cowboy," he called. "Hard lessons coming your way." Caleb didn't stop. "Get inside, Murphy." The barkeep snorted. "Storm'll bury you all. Maybe that's for the best." Eleanor stiffened. Caleb stepped slightly in front of her without thinking. She felt the shield he became. She hated that she needed it. She needed it anyway. They passed the church. The stained glass window glowed faintly, dimmed by frost. Inside, a single candle burned. Eleanor slowed. So did Danny. Caleb paused. "You need a moment?" She shook her head. "No time." But her eyes lingered on the light, a fragile flame refusing to die. I wanted to believe faith still counted for something. The storm rose again, louder, angrier. Snow whipped sideways, stinging their faces like grit. Caleb quickened the pace. "Stay close," he said. Eleanor tightened her grip on Danny's hand until he winced, but he didn't complain. Emma coughed, a hollow sound, and nestled deeper against Caleb's coat. They turned the corner toward the north road. The night swallowed half the world. Only the lantern on Caleb's saddle glowed like a stubborn star. Footsteps behind them. Not many. 2, 3. Eleanor tensed. Danny pressed in fast. Caleb didn't turn. Didn't raise his voice. Keep walking. The footsteps faded, or the wind drowned them. Hard to tell. Harder to breathe with fear filling the space where hope should be. They reached Caleb's wagon. Snow had already layered the seat, the wheels, the canvas cover. He set Emma gently inside, checking her chest for breath. Relief flickered across his face when he felt it. Up you go, he told Danny. Danny climbed in, still holding the key like it might save them all. Eleanor hesitated. One step toward the wagon meant leaving everything she'd endured, everything she'd survived, every bitter scrap that kept her alive. But Emma shivered again. Eleanor climbed up. Caleb handed her the reins. Hold them steady. I'll walk beside until the wheels catch. You trust me with your wagon? She asked quietly. I trust you with your children, he said. That's more than a wagon. The words struck deep, left a bruise she didn't expect. He stepped into the snow, boots crunching, and nodded. Let's move. The wagon lurched forward. The storm swallowed their tracks as quickly as they made them, like the night wanted to erase the fact they ever tried to leave. Eleanor looked ahead into the white void and whispered a prayer too small to share with anyone but God. Behind them, far back in the dark, a door slammed, and somewhere in the snow, someone laughed. The kind of laugh that didn't warm anything at all. The wagon groaned as the wind slammed against its side, rocking it like a cradle built by a cruel hand. Snow sheeted across the road so thick the world narrowed to a strip of white and breath. Caleb walked ahead, shoulders braced, lantern swinging at his belt. Eleanor held the reins with numb fingers, praying the wheels wouldn't lock. Beside her, Emma's breathing rasped in and out. Too shallow, too slow. Mama? Danny whispered, curled around his sister. His voice shook more from fear than cold. Hold her tight, Eleanor said. Keep her warm. Warm. A word that felt like a lie in a night like this. The wagon hit a rut, hard. Emma's cough tore the silence open. Eleanor flinched. Caleb turned instantly. She still breathing? He called. Yes, Eleanor answered. But the yes nearly broke. The wind rose again, screaming between the pines. Caleb climbed onto the wagon board, gripping the side to steady himself. We take the ridge trail, he said. It's longer, but the ground holds better. It'll take more time, Eleanor said. It'll keep us alive. He didn't soften it, didn't sugarcoat hope. The truth was cold, but it held. Another jolt shuddered through the wagon. Something thumped onto the floorboards. Pick it up, Eleanor said. Danny bent forward, reaching under the bench. He froze halfway. A folded scrap of paper lay on the boards beside his foot. Its edge had torn from a stitch inside his coat. He grabbed it fast, shoving it back into his pocket. But not fast enough. Eleanor saw the panic. Caleb saw the way the boy hid his hand. And I felt the dread I didn't dare name. "What fell?" Eleanor asked. "Nothing," Danny said, too quick. Emma stirred weakly. The distraction bought him seconds, but not safety. The wagon lurched again, this time worse. Caleb leaned over the side. "Snow's piling against the wheels," he said. "We stop a minute." He dropped down, boots sinking deep. Eleanor stepped out too, pulling her coat tight. Wind knifed through her sleeves. "Keep them covered," Caleb said, glancing into the wagon. "I'll clear the drift." He used his gloved hands first, then a short shovel. The wind fought him every inch. Eleanor checked Emma's forehead, burning. Her heart clenched. Lord, not her. Not tonight. Danny sat stiff, eyes down, fist tight around the folded note. She rested a hand on his shoulder. "Danny, what's in your pocket?" He shook his head. "It's nothing, Mama." "Look at me." He tried. Failed. His lip trembled. "It was Papa's," he whispered. Eleanor's breath locked. "Michael." His name burned through the cold. "Where did you find it?" "By the mine road," Danny said. "The day they told us Papa fell." A pause. A tiny inhale. "But he didn't fall, Mama. I saw a man there. He was yelling. Papa was hurt. I think he dropped this." Snow hissed against the wagon canvas. Caleb stopped shoveling. He didn't turn. Didn't interrupt. He just stood still, back rigid, letting the storm speak around him. Eleanor knelt before Danny, gripping his shoulders. "Why didn't you tell me?" Because you cried every night," he said. "And the man who yelled, he saw me. I thought he'd come for us." The paper in his hand shook. Eleanor swallowed the fear rising in her throat. "Let me see it, baby." Danny hesitated, then handed it to her. The note was torn, smeared with dirt and something darker. A name. A payment amount. A date. The day before the mine collapse. And one line scrawled at the bottom. "Make sure she stays quiet." The storm moaned as if it could read the ink, too. Caleb climbed back up, snow clinging to his coat. "You two all right?" he asked. Eleanor folded the note into her palm before he saw it. Not out of distrust, out of instinct. Out of fear that the truth could still kill them faster than the cold. "Yes," she said. "We're all right." Caleb studied her face. The lie flickered in her eyes like a lantern fighting wind. But he didn't press. Not tonight. Not while the road tried to bury them. "Let's move," he said. He climbed behind the wagon and pushed. Eleanor snapped the reins gently. The wheels creaked, broke loose, turned again. Danny held Emma tighter. Eleanor held the note tighter. Caleb held the storm at bay by sheer will. The ridge trail bent north into deeper darkness, and somewhere behind them, muffled by wind, a horse snorted, then another. Not the kind of sound a storm makes. The kind men make when they're tracking someone who shouldn't be alone. The wagon moved on, but the night followed. The ridge narrowed to a single white path carved by wind and mercy. Trees leaned inward like witnesses afraid to speak. The wagon's lantern swung wildly, light slicing through the storm in trembling arcs. Caleb kept one hand on the sideboard, guiding the wheels as the snow deepened. Eleanor held the reins close enough her knuckles blanched. Emma barely breathed. Danny watched the darkness behind them for shapes he prayed not to see. A crack split the night. Not thunder. Wood. The wagon dipped left, hard. Eleanor gasped. The right wheel sank into a hidden hollow beneath the snow, wrenching the axle sideways. The entire wagon lurched like it wanted to roll. "Hold on," Caleb barked. He jumped forward, boots skidding, and braced his shoulder under the slanted frame. Muscles strained. Snow crunched. The wagon steadied by inches. Eleanor gripped the seat. "Is it broken?" "Axles twisted," Caleb said. "Wheel won't hold long." "How long?" she whispered. He met her eyes. "Not enough." She felt the truth before he spoke it. The wagon wouldn't make another mull. Maybe not another yard. Emma coughed. A soft, wet sound. Wrong in every way. Eleanor leaned in, brushing hair from her forehead. The heat burned her palm. "Lord," she whispered, voice cracking, "don't take her." The wind swallowed the prayer, but maybe he heard. I needed him to hear. Caleb pulled off his gloves and ran fingers along the broken joint. The wood had split. Not repairable in the dark. Not repairable in this storm. Not repairable before Emma's breath thinned too far. He looked up at Eleanor. Snow dusted his lashes like frost on iron. "We walk." Danny stiffened. "In this? Mister, we'll freeze." "Yes," Caleb said. "If we stay, we freeze faster." Eleanor touched her son's cheek. "Danny, listen to him." Caleb climbed into the wagon and lifted Emma gently, wrapping her tighter in his coat. She whimpered, but didn't open her eyes. "Ma'am," he said, "take the blanket. Wrap your boy. Keep him talking." Talking. Silence kills in cold like this. Keep him awake. Eleanor swallowed hard. "What about you?" "I'll carry her." He adjusted Emma against his chest. "You stay right behind me. Don't stop." The storm growled like a living thing. Danny tugged on his mother's sleeve. "Mama, will we make it?" She knelt, pressing her forehead to his. "Yes, baby, we will." Even if she didn't know, especially because she didn't know. They climbed out into the wind. The night hit them like a punishment. Eleanor's breath shattered into shards of white. Danny stumbled, and she yanked him close. Caleb led the way, boots sinking deep. Snow clung to Emma's hair. He shielded her with his arms, his shoulders, his entire frame like he could bargain his warmth for hers. "Stay with me," he called. "Step where I step." Eleanor followed his tracks, each print a lifeline. Danny clung, to her, legs wobbling. The blanket dragged behind him like a wounded wing. Minutes blurred, or maybe they froze. Time didn't work right in storms like this. Danny's voice thinned. "Mama, my feet hurt." "Keep talking," she said, pulling him closer. Tell me what Papa used to say about storms." Danny breathed hard. "He said, God walks in the wind, so we don't walk alone." Caleb heard it. His shoulders tightened. And for the first time in years, I wanted to believe it. The trail dipped. Caleb slowed. "Careful here," he said. "Ice under the drift." Eleanor stepped where he pointed, but the snow shifted, and her foot slipped. She fell to one knee, dragging Danny with her. He yelped. The blanket flew out of his hands. Caleb spun back. "Ma'am, up, now!" Eleanor pushed Danny forward. "Take him first." "I'll take both if you don't get up," he snapped. She rose, shaking, gripping Danny's arm. Caleb steadied her with one hand while keeping Emma secure in the other. The strength of it, of him, hit her harder than the cold. They moved again. Wind wailed, trees bent, the world dimmed. Then hooves, faint, distant, wrong. Caleb stopped. Eleanor ran into his back. "What is it?" she whispered. He tilted his head, listening. The hooves came again, not drifting with the wind, following it. Danny froze. "Mama, are they coming for us?" Eleanor pulled him close. "Stay quiet, baby." Caleb stepped in front of them, lantern swinging at his belt like a lone star against the void. His hand slid toward the Colt at his hip. "No stopping," he murmured. "We move. But we move." He took the next step, then another. Snow swallowed their footprints as fast as they made them, erasing their path, erasing their hope. The hooves drew closer, slow, patient, hungry. Emma whimpered against his chest. And God help them. Caleb prayed the riders were real, because if they weren't, the storm had learned how to follow. Caleb pushed forward through the white darkness, every step sinking to his shins. Emma's breath trembled against his chest, thin, fading, too light for a child who should have been laughing somewhere warm. Danny clung to Eleanor, stumbling every few yards. Eleanor moved like someone dragging her soul behind her body. The hooves sounded again, closer, deliberate. "Keep going," Caleb said. "How far to your ranch?" Eleanor asked. "Farther than I want to admit." Wind tore the words away the moment they left his mouth. Emma whimpered. Caleb tightened his arms around her. The sound hit him like an old wound reopening. "Don't you leave me," he whispered into her hair. "Not tonight. Not like Lily, not again. God, you remember her. Don't make me bury another." The ridge bent west. Caleb stopped, studying the shape of the snowbank ahead. "This way," he said. "You're sure?" Eleanor asked. "No," he said, "but it's the way we take." He stepped off the ridge, boots striking a shallower patch. Good. The valley floor wasn't far. A gust slammed into them. Eleanor lost footing. Caleb lunged, catching her before she fell. Danny pressed against her side, eyes wide like he was watching the ground breathe. "You all right?" Caleb asked. She nodded once, a lie wrapped in frost. They moved again. Minutes scraped by. Snow clung to their lashes. Their clothes stiffened with ice. Caleb's arms burned from carrying Emma's limp weight. His legs throbbed with every step, but he didn't slow. Eleanor did. She staggered, leaning on a dead branch half buried in the snow. Her breath rasped. "I just need just a second." "You don't get a second," Caleb said. "Not out here." He watched her try to straighten, knees buckling. She looked small against the storm, small and stubborn and breaking. He bent slightly, shifting Emma to one arm. "Take my hand." "No," Eleanor said. "You're carrying her." "I said take it." She hesitated, then gripped his palm. Her fingers were ice. No give, no warmth. He closed his hand around hers, anchoring her in place. Danny tugged her sleeve. "Mama, you can't stop. If you stop—" "I know," she whispered. "I know, baby." Caleb pulled her forward. One step, then another. The snow thinned slightly as they neared a familiar incline. Caleb recognized the angle, the crooked fence hidden beneath the drifts. "Almost there," he said. Eleanor blinked. "Where?" "My line fence. From there, my house is 300 yards. "That far?" she breathed. "That close," he corrected. Another gust struck them. Danny cried out. Eleanor shielded him with her body. Caleb leaned forward, bracing his stance to keep from toppling. "We keep moving," he said. Eleanor took a trembling step, then two, but on the third, her strength faltered. She swayed, eyes unfocused. "Ma'am, don't you fall on me," Caleb warned. She didn't answer. Her body bent. Not from the wind, from the weight of everything she'd carried. Fear, hunger, grief, and a daughter dying in a stranger's arms. Caleb stepped toward her, adjusting Emma to his left side, freeing his right. "I said stand." Eleanor looked at him, tears freezing at the corners. I can't carry her anymore. My arms, my legs. Caleb, If you set her down," he said quietly, "you bury her." The truth hit like a bullet. Clean, final. Eleanor's hands shook. She pressed Emma's small, fever-hot fingers to her cheek. "Lord, help me," she whispered. Caleb touched her shoulder. Not gentle, not soft, but steady. "You don't get to quit tonight. Not while she's breathing. Not while that boy's watching you." Danny sniffed, wiping his nose. "Mama, Please don't drop. She straightened. Barely. But enough. Caleb nodded once. They moved again. A dark shape appeared through the storm, fence posts jutting out like broken ribs. Caleb felt something loosen in his chest. We made the line, he said. House is close. Eleanor exhaled a sound halfway between relief and collapse. Then the hooves came again, much closer, much clearer. Caleb turned his head. 4 silhouettes. Riders. No lanterns. No call-outs. Following their trail. Eleanor saw them too. Who are they? Not friends, Caleb said. The riders slowed, watching. Not attacking, not helping, just tracking. Caleb shifted Emma higher on his chest. His other hand slid toward the holster at his hip. Keep walking, he said. Will they follow to your house? Eleanor whispered. Yes. What do they want? Caleb met her eyes. Whatever you're carrying, he said, and whatever he saw. Danny clutched her coat, shaking. She held him close, whispering, Don't look back. But he did. Kids always do. The riders didn't move. Not yet. The storm howled around them, and the fence creaked behind Caleb like it was warning them all. Hurry, before night decides their fate for them. Caleb reached the final rise just as his legs threatened mutiny. The storm thinned enough for the outline of his cabin to flicker through the snow, small, square, stubborn against the dark. We're here, he said. Eleanor nearly dropped to her knees. Danny swayed into her side, but the riders behind them didn't move on, didn't retreat, didn't advance. They simply stopped at the fence line, silent as gravestones. Caleb didn't give them the courtesy of a second look. Inside, he said. Now. He pushed through the last drift, boots hammering the porch. His free hand tore the frozen latch loose. The door swung open with a crack, warm air spilling out like a blessing God had held just for this moment. Eleanor stumbled in first, dragging Danny. Caleb followed, carrying Emma. The moment the door shut, the storm muffled to a distant roar. A fire already slept in the hearth, embers glowing under a layer of ash. Caleb dropped to one knee and fed it kindling with quick, precise hands. Sparks leapt, flames rose, heat followed. Don't get too close yet, he said. Warm up slow or you'll burn from inside. Eleanor knelt on the floor, her fingers stiff, clumsy, shaking as she tried to unbutton Emma's coat. Here, Caleb said. He didn't touch her. He touched the buttons, fast, gentle, sure, and peeled the wet fabric off the little girl's shoulders. Steam curled from her sleeves. Emma whimpered, a sound too small for the fear it carried. Danny hovered beside his sister, eyes huge, hands useless. Sit by her, Caleb told him. Keep talking so she hears you. About what? Danny asked. Anything. Tell her what she likes. Danny swallowed. She likes when I hum. Then hum. He did. Soft. Off-key. But steady. Eleanor's throat broke. Caleb heard it but didn't look up. He couldn't. If he saw that sound on her face, he might not hold himself together long enough to fix what he could fix. He grabbed blankets from the chest, wrapped Emma tight, then wrapped Eleanor too because she was shaking hard enough her teeth clicked. "Drink," he said, handing her a tin cup of water warming near the fire. She tried, failed, tried again. Caleb moved to Emma, lifting her gently to check her breathing. He pressed an ear to her chest. The rattle deepened. Then he whispered a word he rarely dared use. "Please." He wasn't talking to them. He wasn't talking to himself. He was talking to the only one left who could hear through fever and snow and death's slow steps. "Lord, don't take her." Eleanor heard it. Her breath hitched. "You think she'll—" "No," Caleb said sharply. "Not if we move fast." He stood, grabbed his coat again. "Where are you going?" Eleanor asked, scrambling halfway upright. "For the doctor." "He won't come for me." "He'll come for me." He opened the door an inch to test the wind. Snow knifed across his face. He didn't blink. "Caleb, those men, they won't cross my fence if they know what's good for them." "And if they don't?" He pulled his coat collar up. "Then God will sort the fools out." He stepped out into the storm. The door slammed behind him, leaving Eleanor with nothing but flame, fear, and two children who depended on her breathing one more hour. Then one more after that. She sank beside Emma, pulling the little girl onto her lap. Danny curled at her side. "Mama?" "You won't sleep, right? You'll stay?" "I'm right here, baby." But her voice cracked again, and for one terrifying moment, she feared she did not have enough strength left in her bones to stay upright. Then Emma stirred. Just a twitch, just a flicker. But it was enough to pull Eleanor out of the dark. She lifted her daughter closer, resting her forehead on the child's. Her whisper shook. "God, I'm begging you, don't take her. Not when we've just found a place to stand." Outside, wind battered the house like someone demanding entry. Inside, Danny hummed a trembling tune. The fire climbed. The fever climbed higher. Caleb did not return. Not yet. And the riders at the fence, they hadn't moved either. The door shook when Caleb returned. 3 hard knocks, each one sharper than the wind behind him. Eleanor stiffened. Danny clutched her sleeve. Emma moaned softly, her breath catching like a frayed thread. "It's me," Caleb called. Eleanor opened the door a crack. Snow clung to his coat in thick sheets, and a man stood behind him, older, thin, face pinched by cold and reluctance. The doctor. His medical bag dangled from his trembling hand. "He didn't want to come," Caleb said. "I insisted." The doctor shot him a glare sharpened by pride and fear. "Marshal or not, you drag me out again in a storm like this, I'll charge you double." Caleb stepped aside. "Charge what you want. Just see the child." Eleanor backed up, pulling Emma into the warmer circle of firelight. The doctor knelt, opening his bag with stiff fingers. "Let me look at her," he said. He pressed a hand to Emma's forehead, winced, listened to her chest. winced harder. Pneumonia, he muttered. Bad. Eleanor's breath fractured. Can she? Maybe, the doctor said. If she's strong, if she keeps breathing through the night, if the fever drops by morning, and if she gets this every 4 hours. He took out a small vial and a spoon. Eleanor reached for it instantly. Her hands shook so badly, the doctor steadied her wrist. You give it, he said, slow. She nodded, lips trembling, but Caleb extended his hand instead. I'll do it. Eleanor froze. The doctor watched them both, something calculating moving behind his tired eyes. You two figure it out, he said. But she gets the next dose before the fever spikes again. I'll come back at first light, if the roads don't kill me. He packed up his bag, dusted the snow from his shoulders, and looked at Caleb. Marshall, he said quietly, take care. There are men in town asking where you went tonight. Let them ask, Caleb replied. The doctor didn't argue. He slipped out into the storm and vanished. Caleb shut the door, bolting it. The sound echoed through the cabin. Silence followed. Only Emma's weak breath and the fire's low crackle broke it. Eleanor held the spoon. Her fingers wouldn't stop trembling. Ma'am, Caleb said softly. Let me. She swallowed, her jaw tight. I'm her mother. And I've done this before. That stopped her. He didn't explain. He didn't have to. Something in his voice carried the weight of a child he'd once held through a fever he couldn't fix. I felt it too. That old ache. The name I never say. Eleanor handed him the spoon. Caleb sat beside Emma, lifting her gently. Her lips parted when the medicine touched them. Barely. Enough. Good girl, he whispered. Eleanor hugged herself, shivering. Caleb glanced at her. You're freezing. I'm fine. You're not. He grabbed another blanket from the chest and draped it around her shoulders. His knuckles brushed her neck. She closed her eyes for a heartbeat too long. Thank you, she murmured. Don't thank me, he said. Thank me when she's better. Danny slid closer to the fire, eyes red but watching everything. Caleb reached over and ruffled his hair, a small gesture, awkward, almost unsure. You did good tonight, Caleb said. She needed you. Danny swallowed hard. Will she die? Caleb didn't lie. Not if we stay awake. Eleanor moved to the rocking chair and sat with Emma in her lap, as if holding the child might force breath into her lungs. Caleb took the chair beside her. The two sat shoulder to shoulder, not touching, but close enough to share warmth neither would admit needing. Hours stretched. The fire settled into a low orange glow. Eleanor's head dipped. Her body trembled with exhaustion. Don't sleep, Caleb said quietly. I'm trying, she whispered. But my eyes. Caleb, I can't make them stay open. He took Emma from her before she could drop her. Eleanor gasped. No, rest your arms, he said, just for a moment. She hesitated, torn between instinct and trust. Then her hand brushed his, accidentally, but lingered one painful second too long. It was her who pulled away, flustered, wounded, grateful, terrified. Caleb shifted Emma gently, rocking her with the slow rhythm of a man who remembered how to cradle a fevered child and how to lose one. Eleanor watched him, watched the set of his jaw, the tremor he hid, the prayer he didn't say out loud, and something in her cracked. "Caleb?" she whispered. He didn't look at her. "Yeah? Why are you helping us?" He paused. The answer sat in his throat like a stone. "Because someone should have helped my sister," he said. "And they didn't." The words slipped out before he could stop them. Eleanor covered her mouth. Danny's eyes widened. Caleb kept rocking Emma, gaze fixed on the fire. "And I won't let that happen again," he said. A quiet moment settled over them. Heavy, painful, holy. The kind that changed something. Then Emma jerked in his arms. Her breath stuttered. Eleanor shot up. "Is she?" Caleb leaned in, listening. Then his jaw tightened. The fever had climbed, and the night wasn't done testing them. Morning didn't come gently. It slammed against the windows with wind that carried threats instead of snowflakes. The fire had burned low. Emma slept. Not easy, not safe, but breathing. Caleb hadn't moved all night. Eleanor woke in the chair opposite him. Her neck screamed. Her fingers throbbed. Her eyes felt carved from stone. But Emma still breathed. "Thank you," she whispered into her palms. Caleb heard it. Didn't comment. Just stood. Stretched once and checked the window. Footsteps crunched outside. Then a fist hit the door. 3 men stood on the porch when Caleb opened it. Coats clean, boots polished, expressions carved from the same smug stone. Murphy's men, not riders, clerks of cruelty. "Morning, Marshal," the tall one said. Or, "Former Marshal." "State your business," Caleb said. "Simple." The man handed him a folded paper. "The ranch contract with the cattle line, canceled, effective today." Caleb's jaw shifted once. Not anger, calculation. The second man stepped forward. "Bank says your winter loan is under review. Payments frozen until your house guests move along." Eleanor stiffened behind him. The third man smiled. "And the feed store won't sell you hay while she's on your land. Community standards. Hope you understand." Caleb stared at them long enough the wind seemed to pause. Then he shut the door. Not slammed. Just shut. Eleanor rose, gripping the blanket around her shoulders. "Caleb, what was that?" "The town," he said, "reminding me who they want me to be." "And who is that?" "Someone who doesn't shelter widows, the mine accused." His eyes flicked to Emma. "Someone who looks away." Eleanor swallowed. "Because of us, you'll lose everything." No, he said. I lose everything if I let them decide what kind of man I am. She looked at him, really looked, and fear tangled with something else in her chest. Gratitude, too sharp to touch. Caleb, she whispered. But the weight wasn't on her alone. Danny stepped closer, eyes wide. Mister, we can go, Mama and me. We don't want you hurt. Caleb knelt so the boy had to meet his eyes. You're not the ones hurting me, he said quietly. The town is, and it'll hurt you twice over if you leave. Eleanor flinched. We can't stay if it destroys your life. Ma'am, he said, standing again, it's my life to spend. He walked to the table, pulled open a drawer, and dropped a pouch of coins onto the wood. A hard, metallic sound. Here, he said. If you want to go, take it. Eleanor froze. I said take it, Caleb repeated. And I'll get the wagon repaired. I'll get you as far as Bear Creek. After that, you're on your own. Danny grabbed her skirt. Mama. Eleanor looked at the pouch, looked at Emma sleeping in the blanket, looked at the man offering her an escape he clearly hated, and something inside her, something built from fear and hunger and humiliation and 100 nights praying alone, broke clean in two. I don't want your money, she said quietly. It's not my money, he said. It's the price of letting you walk into danger I can't follow. Her voice cracked. Then don't make us go. Silence. A long, terrible silence. Caleb took one breath. Slow. Heavy. Then he closed the drawer. You stay, he said. Her knees weakened. Danny pressed into her side, relief shaking through him. Caleb wasn't done. But understand this, ma'am. His voice dropped. Staying means trouble. Staying means riders at night. Staying means men who want that girl's fever to finish what their minds started. Her hand covered her mouth. And staying, he added softly, means I fight for you whether you want me to or not. Eleanor's eyes filled. She hated it. Hated showing weakness. Hated needing anyone. But she whispered it anyway. Thank you. Caleb turned away before she could see what the words did to him. The fire crackled. Emma murmured. Outside, the wind died down. But in the quiet that followed, 3 truths settled hard and permanent. He had chosen them. She hadn't chosen to leave. And the town had just declared war. And war has a way of knocking twice. Caleb hitched the wagon just after noon. The storm had passed, but the cold stayed. The kind that bit ankles and tested resolve. Emma slept under 3 blankets, breath steadier than the night before. Eleanor kept her hand on the child's back, counting each rise like it was borrowed from heaven. We don't have to go, Eleanor said quietly. We do, Caleb answered. They cut my supply lines. I'm not letting them starve us out. Starve us. The way he said us made her chest twist. Danny climbed into the wagon, holding his sister's knitted cap. I'll keep her warm, Mama. You do that. Caleb said, tightening the straps. And keep your hood up. Danny nodded hard, trying to look brave. It only made him look smaller. Caleb glanced back once, at the tree line, at the empty road, at the fence where riders had watched them, making sure no shadows moved where they shouldn't. Then he clicked the reins. The wagon rolled. Town looked different when you walked in with people the town had already judged. Doors didn't slam, but they tightened. Curtains twitched. Women tugged their children closer. Men pretended to stack crates, sweep dust, tie ropes. Anything so they didn't have to meet Caleb's eyes. Eleanor sat straighter on the wagon seat, chin high, though her hands shook under the blanket. "They're staring," she whispered. "They stared before," Caleb said. "They'll do worse if you bow." The feed store came into view. Caleb pulled to a stop. He stepped down. So did Eleanor. "Stay with your sister," she told Danny. "Yes, Mama." Caleb opened the store door. A bell jingled overhead. Too cheerful, too false. Mr. Halston stood behind the counter, wiping a ledger that didn't need wiping. "Morning," Caleb said. Halston didn't look up. "We're low on stock." "No, you're not," Caleb replied. "I saw fresh deliveries last week." Halston wiped harder. "Must be mistaken." Caleb reached into his coat, pulled out a small sack of coins, and set it on the counter, hard. "I'm not here to beg," he said. "I'm here to buy." Halston's jaw clenched. "We reserve the right to decline service." "For what reason?" Halston's eyes flicked toward the wagon outside, toward the faint shape of Eleanor in the window. "Standards," he said. "Community standards." Caleb leaned in just enough for Halston to feel the weight of every word. "You're a businessman," Caleb said softly, "and nothing kills business faster than choosing the wrong side of a story." Halston swallowed. "Meaning?" "Meaning when the sheriff asks why you denied feed during winter to a sick child, I'll let you answer without interference." Halston froze. His fingers tightened around the ledger. Behind Caleb, Eleanor stepped forward, voice steady. "My daughter needs hay for the fire and oats for warmth. We're not asking for charity." Halston finally looked at her. Really, looked. She did not flinch. "Fine," he muttered. "Half ration." "A full ration," Caleb said. "Paid in advance." Halston hesitated, then nodded. Caleb hoisted the sacks himself, carrying them out while Eleanor walked beside him, a strange mixture of relief and dread building in her chest. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me. Thank pressure. Men like Halston respond to the right screws." They loaded the wagon. But before Caleb could climb back onto the seat, a figure stepped out from behind the tannery. Pastor Rennick. "Caleb," the pastor called, voice calm, too calm. "A word?" Caleb didn't stop. "Not today." The pastor walked closer. "Son, the town is unsettled. Bringing that woman here, that woman has a name. She is unprotected, and you could fix that." Eleanor stiffened. Caleb's hand tightened on the reins. "Pastor," Caleb said, "if this is another speech about marriage, it is about appearances," the pastor cut in. "People whisper. Children repeat what they hear. The longer she stays unwed under your roof, the more danger she invites." "I'll decide what danger looks like," Caleb said. "And I'll decide what sin looks like." Caleb stepped toward him. The pastor retreated a fraction. "Be careful," Caleb murmured. "Sin is ignoring hungry children in your own town. Sin is letting men freeze on the road. Sin is shutting the door in a widow's face." The pastor's lips thinned. "You'll regret this." "Already have," Caleb said, "but not for the reasons you think." Eleanor climbed into the wagon, heart hammering. Shame, pride, fear, gratitude, all tangled like thorns. Caleb joined her, flicked the reins, and the wagon rolled forward. "Caleb," she whispered, voice barely holding, "you didn't have to defend me." "Yes," he said, "I did." "Why?" He didn't look at her. "Because the world already took too much from you." Her breath caught. Then, a noise behind them. Hooves. Slow. Measured. Caleb's shoulders went rigid. "They're following us?" Eleanor whispered. "Not yet," he said, "but they will." The wagon didn't speed up. It didn't slow down. It just kept rolling, straight into whatever the town planned next. They reached the ranch at dusk. Snow glowed blue under the last light. Cold clung to the fence rails like frostbite waiting for an excuse. Eleanor carried Emma inside. Danny followed close, refusing to let go of his sister's hand. Caleb unhitched the wagon, shoulders tight, eyes scanning the tree line for silhouettes that shouldn't be there. None. But the silence felt wrong. Inside, Eleanor settled Emma by the fire. Her breath sounded better. Not good. Just better. "Temperature's down a little," Eleanor whispered. She might have a chance." "Good," Caleb said, though fear still flickered at the edge of his voice. "Keep her drinking water." Danny hovered behind them, twisting the hem of his coat. Something gnawed at him. Something more than fear of snow and riders. Caleb saw it. "You all right, kid?" Danny's eyes dropped to his pocket. "Come with me," Caleb said. They stepped out to the small storage shed, quiet, half lit by the fire's glow from inside the cabin. Danny dug into his coat, hands shaking, breath fogging. He pulled out the folded paper, the same scrap that had fallen in the storm, the same scrap he'd guarded like a wound. "I didn't mean to hide it," Danny whispered. "I was scared." Caleb knelt. "Scared of what?" "That they'd come for Mama," he said. "The man who yelled at Papa, he saw me." His voice cracked like brittle glass. Caleb unfolded the paper. The wind outside seemed to stop breathing. A name, a payment line, a date. and the sentence that hit harder than the cold. Make sure she stays quiet. Caleb closed his eyes. Lord, give me temperance, or give me aim. Where did you find this? Caleb asked. By the mine road, Danny whispered. The day they said Papa fell. Caleb studied the boy's face. He wasn't lying. He was remembering. You did good holding on to this, Caleb said. But now we do things right. Now it goes to the sheriff. Danny swallowed. Will Mama be mad? No, Caleb said. She'll be proud. But truth was heavier than Danny knew. Truth always costs something. Sometimes everything. They walked back toward the cabin, but the door wasn't fully closed. A shape stepped out from the shadow of the porch. A man in a thick coat, hat low, breath steady, boots clean, too clean for someone traveling in snow. He held a leather pouch. Evening, the man said. Don't mean trouble. Caleb's hand eased toward the Colt at his hip. State it. This is for the lady, the man said, nodding toward the cabin. A gesture of goodwill. No goodwill in winter, Caleb replied. Only motive. The man chuckled. Fair enough. He opened the pouch and let the firelight catch the glint inside. Money. More than Caleb had held in years. A family like hers should move on, the man said. Find a warmer place, lose the burden. A pause. A generous offer, if they leave tonight, Danny stepped back, heart thumping. Caleb stood still as stone. And if they don't? The man shrugged. Then things get complicated. Accidents happen. Winters are cruel. Mines collapse. Fires start. Eleanor appeared in the doorway, pale, holding Emma's empty cup. Caleb? She asked. The man tipped his hat politely. Ma'am, this is for you. Eleanor's breath stalled. She didn't reach for the pouch. She didn't step back either. She just froze. Every muscle pulled tight. It's enough to start over, the man said. Enough to make sure your children are safe. Safe. The word hit her like a bruise. Caleb stepped between them. She's not taking it. Eleanor's hand trembled. Caleb, you're not taking it, Caleb repeated. The man's smile thinned. You'd refuse a mother her chance? No, Caleb said. I refuse you the right to buy her fear. Something flickered in the stranger's eyes. Annoyance, recognition, maybe even respect. Think on it, ma'am, he said. Midnight's the deadline. After that, no deals. He tossed the pouch at her feet. Then he walked away, vanishing into the snow as quietly as he'd come. Eleanor stared at the pouch. Tears pricked her eyes, not from temptation, but from the cruelty of asking a mother to choose between truth and survival. Danny whispered, Mama, don't take it. Please. Eleanor covered her mouth. I just want you safe, she said, voice breaking. Caleb picked up the pouch, walked to the hearth, but didn't throw it in. He put it on the table between them. "You want to go," he said softly. "I'll take you." Her chest caved. "Caleb, but if you take that money," he continued, "you teach your children that fear decides their future, and I won't stand in a house that teaches that." The fire popped behind him. Eleanor stared at the pouch, then at Caleb, then at her son, her hand lifted, but not toward the money, toward Danny. She pulled him close. "We're not leaving," she whispered. Caleb exhaled once, slow, heavy, the kind of breath a man releases when the decision is made, but the danger is just beginning. Outside, the wind rose again, as if carrying the message to whoever needed to hear it. They said no, and the night would not forgive it. Night settled fast, too fast, the kind of night that didn't fall so much as sink its teeth in. Caleb bolted the door, checked the windows, stoked the fire higher. Eleanor tucked Emma deeper into blankets. Danny hovered near the table where the pouch still sat, silent, accusing, unspent. Caleb paced once across the room. His boots thudded on the floorboards, steady, intentional. "They'll come," he said. Eleanor's head snapped up. "Tonight?" "When a man delivers an ultimatum," Caleb replied, "he's not offering time. He's offering warning." Danny swallowed. "Will they hurt us?" "No," Caleb said, but his hand rested on the Colt, and I knew the truth. I'd kill before I watched another child die. The wind moaned outside, then changed. Not wind. Footsteps. Snow crunching in a rhythm only men made. Caleb moved to the window and lifted the curtain half an inch. Torches. 5. Maybe 6. Glow flickering against the dark, bobbing like angry spirits on horseback. Eleanor's breath hitched. "Dear God." "They're stopping at the gate," Caleb said, "trying to decide how bold they feel." Emma coughed weakly in her sleep, the sound small and fragile. Caleb's jaw clenched. He stepped away from the window, grabbed his rifle, and walked to the porch. "Caleb, no," Eleanor whispered. "I won't start anything," he said, "but I won't let them start it in silence." He opened the door. Cold knifed into the cabin. Firelight spilled across the snow, reaching the fence line where the riders waited. Caleb stood on the porch, coat open, rifle steady, breath rising in clouds. One of the riders nudged his horse forward. Murphy's second in command. Hrix, a man with a reputation for kicking dogs and calling it justice. "Evenin', Marshal," Hrix said. "Not a marshal," Caleb replied. "Once was. Folks remember that." Caleb said nothing. Hrix smirked. "You got company under your roof shouldn't be there. Town wants peace. Then stop riding at night like thieves." A murmur rolled through the riders. Hrix leaned forward. "We gave that woman a chance to leave. All quiet-like. You made her refuse." "She decided," Caleb said. "That's the problem." One of the riders lifted his torch a little higher, letting the flame burn bright enough to show his intention. Eleanor watched from behind the curtain, clutching the window frame so hard her knuckles whitened. Danny pressed into her side, eyes wide, throat tight. "You step past that fence," Caleb said. "You won't step back." "We ain't here for you," Rix answered. "We're here for the evidence that woman's brats got in their pockets." Caleb's grip tightened. "They're children." "They're witnesses," Rix said, "and witnesses go missing in winter." A stillness dropped over the snow, thick, unnatural, dangerous. "Last chance, Marshal," Rix added. "Hand over the paper, hand over the family, or we take 'em." Caleb didn't raise his rifle. He didn't need to. The way he breathed was warning enough. "You want the paper?" Caleb asked quietly. "Come take it." A few riders shifted, preparing. Then, a shout cut the night. "Hold your damn positions!" Sheriff Braddock rode in from the north, lantern swinging from his saddle. 2 deputies flanked him. Snow kicked up under their horses' hooves. Rix straightened. "Sheriff, this ain't your—" "It is," Braddock snapped, "because threatening a rancher on his own porch is still a hanging offense in this county." Rix scowled. "We came for what's ours." "You came for trouble," Braddock said, dismounting. "And I'm right tired of trouble." He gestured to his deputies. "Get their names." One rider cursed. Another pulled his horse back. Torches wavered. "You think this stops anything?" Rix spat. "The mine's got friends bigger than you." "And the law's bigger than you think," Braddock replied. He stepped past Caleb, lowering his voice just enough that only a few could hear. "Keep them inside," he murmured. "Lock the doors. Don't sleep." Caleb nodded once. The sheriff slipped something into his hand, a sealed envelope, edges stiff with wax. "If I don't make it to morning," Braddock said, "you get this to the governor. Understand?" Caleb's pulse jumped. "Sheriff." "No time for speeches," Braddock said. "Just be ready." He turned back to the riders. "Now get off this land before I start filling out death certificates." Rix glared at Caleb. "This ain't over," he said. "It is for tonight," Braddock answered. One by one, torches turned, horses pivoted, the glow faded into darkness. Caleb exhaled slow, steam drifting from his lips. Inside, Eleanor waited by the door, chest tight. When Caleb stepped in, she grabbed his arm, more instinct than intention. "Are we safe?" she whispered. "No," he said. "But we're moving towards something safer than fear." Danny looked at the sealed envelope in Caleb's hand. "What's that?" Caleb stared at it. "Trouble," he said. "And maybe a way out." Eleanor swallowed. "Caleb, what happens now?" He looked at the window where the torchlight had finally vanished. "Now?" he said. His voice was calm, too calm. "Now we stop surviving." A beat. "And we start fighting." Morning crept in pale and slow, like it wasn't sure the house deserved light yet. The storm had moved on. The danger had not. Caleb sat at the table, the sheriff's sealed envelope resting under his palm. He hadn't slept. Neither had Eleanor. She kept Emma on her lap through the night, counting breaths, whispering prayers into a scarf worn soft from fear and winter. The knock came after sunrise. Not fists, hands. Women's hands. Eleanor opened the door, and 3 women stood on the porch. Martha with a basket, Sarah with a ledger book tucked under her arm, Catherine with her coat still cut from the long walk. Martha pushed inside first. "We heard what happened," Sarah added, "and what nearly happened." Catherine shut the door behind them. "So we brought what we could." On the table, they laid out bread, dried apples, a list of neighbors willing to testify, and, most surprising, a folded sheet of county law regarding witness protection and guardianship rights. Eleanor blinked. Why are you helping us?" Martha looked at Emma sleeping by the fire. "Because we know what it feels like when men with money decide the truth is optional." Sarah adjusted her spectacles. "And because if those riders come back, they won't strike a house full of women without thinking twice." Catherine smiled softly. "Safety in numbers, dear." Caleb watched them, all of them. Something in his chest shifted, something he'd kept locked behind grief and habit. "Thank you," he said quietly. Catherine tapped the sheriff's envelope. "We also came for that." Caleb slid it across. "He told me to run it to the governor if he didn't make sunrise." "Well," Catherine said, "he made sunrise. Barely. He's at the office. Alive. For now." Eleanor sagged with relief, but Catherine wasn't finished. "You need legal standing," she said. "Protection. Rights. If the mine tries to claim the children as leverage, you'll need something stronger than sympathy." Eleanor stiffened. "Claim my children?" Sarah cleared her throat. "There are precedents, not good ones. Men have used accusations of vagrancy and moral instability to separate families, especially widows." Caleb's jaw flexed. "Not on my land." "Your land isn't enough," Martha said gently. "Law is louder than land." Eleanor looked at the floor, breath trembling. "So what do we do?" Silence fell, heavy, decisive. Catherine spoke first. "You create a shield, a public one, something that makes the town hesitate." Martha folded her hands. "A union, a household, a name." Eleanor stared at them. "You mean marriage," Sarah said plainly. "Not for romance, for protection." Eleanor's breath cracked. I can't ask him." "You're not asking," Caleb said softly. Eleanor turned. His expression was steady, unreadable, except for the flicker of something raw behind his eyes. "You don't owe me anything," she whispered. "I know. You don't even know me." "I know enough." Danny stepped closer to him. "Mister, would that mean we stay?" Caleb bent slightly so he was eye level with the boy. "It means no one gets to take you." Danny blinked rapidly, hope and fear wrestling behind his ribs. "But We don't have to call you Pa, right? Caleb's voice softened. You call me whatever feels true. Danny nodded, hard, fast. Eleanor touched Emma's hair. Her throat closed. Caleb, this is too much to ask. You didn't ask. Then why would you do it? He hesitated. Just once, just long enough to reveal the truth hiding under his ribs. Because the world took my family, he said, and I'm tired of watching it take everybody else's too. Her eyes filled, not with weakness, but with a strength she hadn't been allowed in years. She stepped closer. If we do this, she whispered, my name goes on the papers. My children stay mine, and we stand together in daylight, not in shame. Caleb nodded. Together. And you won't treat it like charity. No, he said, like partnership. The air changed, not softer, stronger. Martha exhaled. We can arrange a small ceremony, nothing fancy, just enough to make it legal and loud. Sarah flipped open her ledger. 3 signatures and the sheriff's mark. Catherine smiled. Before the mine hears a whisper of it. Eleanor's hands trembled, but not from fear, from choosing. She extended her palm. Caleb took it. Warm, steady, real. Outside, sunlight finally broke the clouds. Inside, something broke too. But it was not despair. It was the brittle shell of a life lived running, cracking open to make room for something else. Not safety. Not yet. But home. Caleb, Eleanor said softly, let's do this. He squeezed her hand once. For them, he said. For all of us, she replied. Danny hugged her waist. Emma stirred, breathing easier than she had in days. And as the women gathered the papers, as the fire crackled, as the house filled with footsteps and quiet purpose, Caleb looked toward the window. The tree line was still. The snow was calm. But he knew. I knew. Peace like this didn't stay long in a land where truth threatened men with power. Still, for this moment, the house felt like a fortress, and the family inside it finally had a name. When the dust finally settled on that long winter and the truth about the mine reached the governor's desk, folks in that Montana valley told the story the same way for years afterward. They spoke of a widow who walked through snow with nothing left but the will to save her children. They told of a young boy who guarded a torn piece of evidence like a lantern in the dark. And they remembered a quiet rancher, Caleb Hale, who opened his door one night and found not just trouble waiting there, but the beginning of a family he never expected to hold again. Justice didn't come quickly. It rarely does. But it came honestly. The mining men who threatened that family could not outrun their lies. One by one, the truth dug them out like spring thaw uncovering broken roots. And the town, which once whispered behind shut doors, slowly found its voice again, thanks to a sheriff who stood tall and a circle of women who knew how to protect what mattered when men with money tried to silence the weak. But the part folks remember most isn't the trial, or the torches, or even the danger. It's the warmth that filled that small cabin once the storm finally passed. The way Emma breathed easy again by the fire. The way Danny slept without fear clutching his mother's hand. The way Eleanor stood beside Caleb, not as a burden, not as a woman running from shadows, but as someone who had found her place in the world again. Some say love came slowly to that home. Others say it had been there from the first moment Caleb lifted those children out of the cold. Whatever the truth, the feeling inside that cabin grew stronger with each sunrise. A feeling that life can still surprise you, even after you think the best chapters are behind you. And for those of us who've lived long enough to know how heavy life can become, maybe that's the part that stays with us. That gentle reminder that healing comes in its own time. That hope can still knock on the door. That sometimes the family you end with isn't the one you started with, but the one God places in your path when your heart is finally ready to hold it. If you've watched this far, I hope you felt a little of that warmth tonight, a little courage, a little faith, maybe even a little company. Stories like these mean something different when you've seen many winters, and maybe walked through a few storms of your own. That's why I'm grateful, truly grateful, that you chose to spend these last few minutes with this tale of struggle, sacrifice, and second chances. It means more than you know. If this story touched you, or brought back a memory, or reminded you of someone you once loved, or still love, please take a moment to share your thoughts below. I read every comment, and I'd be honored to hear where you're watching from. It's a blessing to see folks from every corner of the world gathered here, sharing in these Western stories that carry so much heart. And if you'd like more tales like this, stories about courage, compassion, and the quiet strength of ordinary people, please consider giving this video a like. It helps more than you might imagine. And if you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe and ring the bell so every new story finds its way to you the moment it's posted. Thank you, sincerely, for spending time with me today. May your night be warm. May your memories be kind. And may whatever storms you've walked through lead you at last to a peaceful home. I hope to see you again soon. God bless you, and take good care.